Hey guys, it's Misty with My Paper Cuts, and today I'm coming on with the first video in what will be quite a series of videos. I was inspired when I started making my Secret Santa stuff by the projects that Carrie had chosen as the list for those, and I decided that I always craft assembly line style. So I decided that while I was working on the Secret Santa and making those projects, I would get other collections out as well and make the same projects with those collections. So for instance, all the collections, the first round of things I did were cards, and the set was 4 cards, and I always make multiples. So for instance, out of a 12 by 12 sheet, you can get 6 cards with just a slight border around if you do A2 size. So I picked 4 sheets in each collection and decided to make them into cards, so each collection will have 24 cards done. So it's helping me get through some of my paper. It's helping me build my Christmas card stash. It's getting my mojo going into overdrive because I'm not just working with one constant collection. I'm bouncing between collections. So it's always fresh and new. And I'm really having a lot of fun with it. So for the last couple of weeks, I've been coloring images, die cutting images, stamping sentiments, and doing all of those things to build cards, because that is the most time consuming of what I'm doing. And everything's coming together all at once because of the assembly line style that I did. So you're going to see a lot of videos of cards to start with. And I think I'm going to do it just one collection at a time because I do get a lot of questions about the products that I use. And so I'm trying to incorporate the ones I think you guys would ask about into each description of each card. So bear with me. I know it's a lot of videos, but if it's a collection you're not interested in, you can always skip it. But I thank you for taking the time to actually, see what's come out of these collections, I guess to say. So the first one I'm going to start with today is this Mintay collection, and it's Sweetest Christmas, and it's from last year. And I love Mintay papers. I love the cut aparts. I have not cut these ones out yet. This is very, very cute. But what I struggle with Mintay are these large scene type images. I think they're beautiful, but unless I do an album or something, they're just really too large for me to use in anything. So what you're going to see is I used this pink paper. I used a little bit of this and something else that I will share. But for the cards, I'm just glancing over here. So I used this one, I used this one, and this one right here. So, and the way that I did the cards with using basically I cut them all down to a 4 by 5 1/4 size, which makes them perfect for the front of an A2 size card with just a slim border around it on the base. And that way I only have like a couple little about 2-inch scraps. And on some of these I use the scraps, on other ones I just went ahead and tossed them. When they're just, just little pieces, they're just not worth keeping. So using this used up 4 complete sheets with nothing left over. So let me show you the first card here. So for the first card, the main focus on this card is this die right here. I used this peace word. This is one of my favorite from Sizzix. And then I also use this MFT banner die with the little stitching. I love this for small sentiments. And pardon me while I try to find one more die that I used that I forgot to pull out, which is also one of my favorites. And it's this one right here. These, I always love these types of dies. They're kind of they're like a corner die. So this is the one that I use. So it cuts out of the corner this poinsettia type pattern with a whole bunch of little dots around it. It's very, very cool. And then in this set, there's also this large holly, and then this really cool kind of a plaid design, which I love. It's a really distressed plaid. So I use these almost every year. I love these dies. So those are the main focus on this first card. And this is what I came up with here. So it's this is cut out with just some silver metallic shimmery paper It's more of a pearl paper. There is a mint color shimmer paper behind the poinsettia die. And then what I did was I accented all of the little dots with the white vintage Nouveau drops. Those dry matte. And then these large dots here are the Nouveau Dream Drops. And this color is called Frosted Lake. And I call this my P card. This is very inspired by P. She loves this color, and I don't know, it went down this road real quick of just staying green. It is on a fog cardstock base from Simon Says Stamp. It's a really light gray to go with the silver of the piece. And then I used just some holly leaves that I cut out of just white paper, and I colored those with a zig marker. And then there's some more of those Dream Drops. This is the banner that I used, and I stamped the On Earth. This is just from a random stamp set. It did say Peace on Earth. I just selectively inked the On Earth and only used that piece of it. And then on the inside here, I have some more of the holly leaves, a couple dots of stickles, and a nice inside sentiment. So that is the first card. And then the second card that I did, I used a lot of stuff on this one. So I used this border die here from Spellbinders. And I used, which one did I use? I used this one right here, the second one with kind of it's got like a pierced edge on it, and it also cuts. So I used that die. I also used this die from Penny Black. It's just a peppermint border here. And then I used this Sizzix Tim Holtz, I believe it's Tim Holtz. Oh yeah, Tim Holtz again. And I used this poinsettia here. And I used this branch right here. And I cut them out of just white paper. And then I watercolored them the color that I wanted. And I made a flower out of that with this as the background to match the paper. And I'll give you more details about that in just a sec. So here's the card I came up with for this poinsettia paper here. Here is that border die. This is on a lipstick red card base. And then, of course, the peppermints are cut out. And what I did to make the peppermints a little bit more flush into the cardstock was I ran the die, because it's a cutting die, I ran it through and just embossed it first, because I didn't want to paper piece all these little white pieces, but I also didn't want it to just be sitting on top of the cardstock. So I embossed this into the cardstock first. And then I cut this piece out in red, and then it just kind of settled down in there, so it's not quite so just on top. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. So it gives it more dimension without me having to paper piece. And then I just stamped a sentiment in red, and then this flower here, what I did with this die here was there is this poinsettia here. And then there's a piece. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Sorry, guys. So this is the poinsettia die here. And so you get your base, and you get this detailed part for the top. And then you get these little leaves, and then, of course, you get the centers. So what I did was I cut all of this out of white. I colored the base piece in pink, and I left this piece in white. And then this piece obviously is red. And then the leaves are tucked behind, but they're in a light green color there. And then the centers I did not use because I used some stamens from my stash. So I had some glittery white stamens. But what I did was I molded, in my flower mold, I molded the base piece. And I liked this more loose for more dimension. So I molded this piece only. And then I assembled the flowers so that this could just be, because this is so delicate, it would have just torn up in the mold, I think. And I really wanted it to have more oomph from the background. And then this berry piece here is this die in the set. And again, I cut them both out of white, but I colored only the top piece with this blue to tie into the paper. And I just layered those two pieces. So that's how I did this card. And on the inside of this card here, I just stamped, I have a candy cane border that's from Simon Says Stamp. and just a nice sentiment that I believe is from Crafter's Companion. So that is that card. And then the next card is a little bit, there's fewer things that I used, but is this die here that is from, I picked this up at Hobby Lobby, but it's obviously a Sizzix die, and I really wanted it to be a reindeer couple or just a deer couple, and being from Montana, it just annoyed me that there were antlers on both, and so I did cut the antlers off this one. I figured she was smaller and a little more feminine, so this way I could make, you know, a boy and a girl. And I didn't do all the flowers and the bows or the ornaments or anything. I kept it simpler. So I used that. And this is the card that I did for that. So it has the pink background paper. I have some white glitter paper, but the glitter paper I had lots of blues and like the rainbow kind of multicolor, and I really wanted it to be a warmer white because of the coloring of the deer here. I used the different colors of craft paper that come in the value pack from Hobby Lobby, and so I just made my own glitter paper. I was actually doing that on Alicia's live last night. I used some microfine glitter that is from Elizabeth Craft Designs, and it is called Warm Diamond. She has, here it is. She has this one's the cool diamond. She does have a warm diamond and a cool diamond, and the warm diamond has more of this golden tone, and the cool diamond has more of those blues and multicolors in it. But it's just a really wide score tape, and then you just put it on white cardstock, take off the top, rub and burnish your glitter in, and it does not come off. There is no glitter that will come off because it is this this one is the silk microfine. So the more fine your glitter is, the better this will work, unless you like that chunky effect. But score tape or Elizabeth Craft Designs, the one who makes this glitter, also makes a double-sided tape in multiple widths. Scrapbook.com does. But you can make your own glitter paper if you don't have the color that you want. So I cut this hillside from that glitter paper, and then I had little scraps left over, so I used a little snowflake die, and I cut that also out of there. I figured he was giving her his heart. I got a little mushy with this one. The scarf here is just cut from some of the scraps from this is actually from one of the scenes. It's part of the curtains in one of the scenes. So at least I used that, and then I cut this little holly berry, and these are both in that same die set. And I have a little wooden heart here. So the one thing I struggled with this die, where did I put it? Oh, here it is that there's an extra piece to do this shadow on the back leg, and it lays on top of these ones. And I tried it a couple times, and I didn't like it. So they don't look as dimensional as they do on the packaging, but I'm happier with it because it doesn't show. And then I didn't mess with the little die cut pieces that go on their rumps. I just colored hers with a white gel pen. And then the inside of this card, I just stamped some snowflakes. And I thought that was a cute sentiment. So that is my deer card. And then the very last card I actually just finished this morning. But I used this die set. Here, I'll lay those other ones there so you guys can see. This die set, again from Sizzix. Obviously, I have quite an addiction to these. But I wanted to use these gingerbread men and make them look like real cookies. They're pretty good size. And so I didn't plan this one out as well, but it worked out in the end. And then I also used this embossing folder. This is from back when the 3D embossing folders first started. We Are Memory Keepers did it. So this is a 3D puffy hearts. These ones work really well. I also have the polka dot in this, and I love them both. So I used that on this card. And this is what I came up with. So I figured that I have my little boy and my little girl here, and I figured if they were holding a little sign that they would need frosting. So I did frosting to hold the sign, but you can see in the background here, the puffy heart background, and then this is the paper, obviously. I did little strips of the cardstock that I cut the joy out of, and I just lined them on the side. I like to do that because it keeps the card pretty low profile, so it makes it easy to mail. And then a big shout out, thank you to P for keeping me company when I was assembling these dies. They come with the little tiny parts to do, oh, you can't really see it in there, but these little squiggles actually die cut out, and they are teeny tiny, and all of these are little pieces of paper that you can cut out. And I'll tell you what, it was quite an adventure trying to glue those down without glue showing. And it was funny because we both talked about it after I'd already done it and said, well, I was planning on doing Nuvo drops on the top anyway to make it look like icing, and I should have just done the Nuvo drops by themselves. But I will say I was thankful to have the paper on there because it gave me the guide, and it really controlled where the Nuvo drops went. So it made them much more defined. But I don't know if you guys can see that, but all of those have Nuvo drops on them, so it looks like real icing on the top. And another thing I wanted to point out, and let me see if I can find it real quick here, is I didn't have the right size joy for that centerpiece there. All the ones I had were way too long, and these were too big to keep them both on there with the little banner in between. So I have this little ornament set from Penny Black, and that joy is in between. It's just in the ornament. So I cut out the ornament and then just trimmed out the word joy. So I got an extra use out of this little set. I love this little ornament set, but I found my joy in there. So anyway, so that is this card. And then on the inside, I used the leftover strip that I was talking about earlier. And I just stamped a couple of sentiments. I figured the From Our House to Yours was suited to this card because of the gingerbread houses. But so those are my 4 cards. And like I said, there are 6 of each of these. So that is my first 24 cards that I made with my little adventure of using 7 collections to do kind of my Secret Santa. It's kind of my version of busting through my Christmas stash this year. So I will be back soon to share the next collection. I do have a wide variety, so hopefully you guys won't get bored. They are different styles and different colors and definitely different types. Some of my cards focus more on die cutting like these. Other ones are focused more on stamped images with coloring. So thanks again for stopping by, and I'll see you on the next video.